Hey guys, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel for another interview. I'm Connor, and joining me today is Julian Lerner to chat all about his role as Brad Hitman in ABC's The Wonder Years reboot. If you enjoyed this interview or the others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So welcome Julian, and actually thanks for taking the time to speak with me again.
Oh, thank you guys for having me again.
Oh, no problem. And we spoke in March of this year, and I was wondering what you've been up to since then, and since we last had a conversation.
Yeah, I've been up, really filming the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
I was doing, I'm actually still doing Alma's Way, which is coming out today on PBS. Um, yeah, and I'm also doing this podcast called From Now.
Mm.
So cool, oh my gosh. It's like this kind of sci-fi, kind of like fun adventure type podcast. Yeah, I will definitely go check it out. Yeah, it's basically that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously the Wonder Years, which it hadn't been made public yet. You were going to be in it when we last spoke, and it's on ABC. It premiered in September, and I suppose like for anyone who's unfamiliar with like this show or with the version from the 80s and the 90s, like how would you describe the premise and your character in this?
Yeah, well, this show, The Wonder Years Reimagined, depicts the social and family life of a 12-year-old boy growing up in Montgomery, Alabama. It is basically set and told through the eyes of 12-year-old Dean, and
Yeah.
it's narrated by his grown-up self. And my character, he's funny, he's fun, he loves his friends. Yeah, and he's just up for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know obviously you wouldn't been born when like the original Wonder Years was on, and like I mean, just because it's such like a cultural classic, like was it something you'd ever seen, or even someone like Fred Savage, right? Who I believe is an EP on your version. He was Kevin in the original show. Like was he someone you would have known who he was, or was he just someone new? Just you've been.
Well, actually, the second I booked the show, I started binge watching it, right? And I
Yeah.
watched the entire thing. Oh my god, it's so good. It's amazing.
Mm.
I could really relate to like the kids. When they laughed, I laughed. When it was awkward, I could definitely relate to that. And when the drama hits, it really hits hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And isn't it really cool because I think there's a lot of people who appeared in that show where it's like a before they were famous kind of thing. Like someone who
Yeah.
went on to be really famous later on, and it's like their first gig or like one of their first gigs that kind of got them out there. There's a few people like that, I think.
hmm Yeah, yeah, there definitely is. I think that hopefully will happen with this show too.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, but it'd be fun to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, and I suppose if there's anyone who's like such a fan of the original show who might not, who might be a bit hesitant to check out this newer version, what do you think they would enjoy about it? Like, what do you think is similar or carried over?
Well, there are definitely similarities and differences, right?
Mm.
So I think the similarities are, it's funny, it's uplifting. They talk about real issues in the show, and it's through the perspective of a kid.
Yeah.
But the difference is it's more about social justice of the 1960s, and it's
Mm.
to the lens of a black family.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get to experience stuff that like, oh wow, like I remember that, or oh that's really cool. I like how they did that. They kind of changed it a little bit. Makes it maybe more interesting in a way.
Yeah, and obviously they've managed to assemble like quite an impressive cast alongside yourself, being the show. Obviously, Dule Hill as Dean's father, and Don Cheadle narrating as the older Dean. Like, were you at all intimidated to work with actors of that caliber or like that kind of level of?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, of course. It's so cool to work with actors who, have, big names and are great actors, and I can really learn from them.
Mm.
And it's just great to act with them. I think it really helps my acting because, it looks like they're in like the scene, right? It's like real life when they're acting. So
Yeah.
it really helps me to act when I'm in a scene with them.
Yeah, and even though they're different characters, completely, I think your nearest counterpart in the original show maybe be Paul. Would that be fair to say? Just
Yeah.
being the friend of the boy. who's the lead, right? So like, would
Right.
you see your character kind of follow a similar path to where Paul went, or do you think there's something completely different in his future? Like, if you could pick yourself.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to be really cool to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it can go either way. They maybe they're gonna incorporate some stuff that did happen, or they may do Brad a whole different like direction or
yeah.
something like that. But yeah, it's gonna be really cool to see what happens.
And I suppose, like, away from the show, are there any other projects that you've lined up or want to mention? I know you kind of mentioned some things at the start. Is there anything you might want to discuss?
I mean, as I said earlier, Almost Way comes out today.
Yeah,
Definitely go watch it. Yeah, I think people are really gonna like it. It's basically, so Sonia Mazzano from Sesame Street. It's kind of based on her life growing up in the Bronx. Yeah, I play Lucas in it. So I play one of her friends. Yeah, I really hope people are really gonna like it, and it's also there's some singing in it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so definitely you can watch out for that.
yeah. And just to kind of wrap this up, because I probably did ask you this when we spoke the last time, but obviously I didn't know then that you were going to be in this, be in the Wonder Years and so on and so forth. And like, what do you kind of hope to maybe accomplish going forward in the next like coming months, heading into 2022?
Man, I mean, I hope that the Wonder Years really becomes a big show and people really like it and they can relate to the characters. Yeah, I mean, and if this gets like the back nine, that'd be awesome. It'd be so
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I think this show's gonna go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and certainly, it's got the built-in audience, and like the series regulars, obviously, very impressive. Yeah,
Thank you.
speaking of someone who's got no like biased or like biased perspective towards it, I think it's got a lot of things going for it. So, all the best with the show and with your
Thank you.
wider career going forward and your ambitions. And yeah, I guess stay safe, take care, and maybe
Thank you so
we'll
much. You
speak
too.
again soon sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much.